Top of the morning, Raider Nation. I'm Raider Dave. This Grimecast Media. We are back after a 3-month absence. I've missed this, man. It feels good to get on the mic. Let me tell you, I've been working on my draft for about 5 months. I got my Raider full mock board coming out here shortly. I'm going to break down each player, all 8 picks that the Raiders have in this year's draft. And we're going to run through each player about 2 minutes each player, man. So stay tuned. Glad to be back here, man. I hope you're all doing well. Let's get into it. Let's go Raiders, man. It's draft day. Let's get into this. All right, setting off Raider Dave's 2021 mock draft, round 1, pick number 17. We're getting our linebacker here, our long-awaited leader of the defense, and his name is Zaven Collins, the linebacker from Tulsa. This dude's a beast all day. 6'4", 260 pounds, ran a 4.6 40. Looks like he runs a 4.4 on tape. This guy plays way faster when you watch him on film, but that 4.6 40 does not do justice how electric this player is as far as, you know, tip drills, getting his hands on the football in coverage, breaking up passes, getting interceptions, getting after the quarterback. I mean, this guy gets after the quarterback, so once again, he could be one of 2 things in the NFL. He can be a true middle linebacker, which I personally think he is. I think he will evolve with game experience, NFL game experience. This man will evolve into a middle linebacker, in my personal opinion. But once again, he could be your edge defensive end in that 4-3. He's got the size, 260, 6'4", you know, and once again, he's just got that push, man. He just gets off the snap real quick, gets after the quarterback. I've pretty much, this has been my selection. I've been, if I did podcasts the last 3 months, you would have heard nothing Zaven Collins. That's all you would have heard. In Micah Parsons, I've been a big fan of Micah Parsons. Once again, I don't think he's going to be there at number 17. Also, Patrick Surtain, he's another good fit for this Raider defense, somebody the Raiders really need. I don't see him slipping to number 17. So right here, we're going to take a safe pick. We're going to get Zaven Collins. He will be there because he is all over the place on boards. Some have him in the second round, early part of the second round. Most have him going to like the Ravens, you know, somewhere around pick 25 and up in the first round. Some even have him at pick 18. So he's all over the place, but he's right in that cushion, and like I said, you just can't miss it at pick 17, and this is not a reach pick. Let me remind everybody, Damon Arnett last year at 19, that was a reach pick. I value that guy at best a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick. So once again, Zaven Collins, we're not reaching here. We're getting exactly what the Raiders need, and the Raiders, they just desperately need a makeover on defense, and I think that starts at the linebacker position. We've tried it all which ways, getting Clelin Ferrell, number 4 overall. Really, we need this role to come from the middle linebacker position, and that's what we want Collins to be. He possesses that ideal blend of size and athleticism, as I brought up earlier with his size. You got to watch him in game speed. He plays really fast, especially in coverage and getting after the quarterback. He had 6 pass breakups last year, 4 interceptions in 2020. You know, he had 11.5 tackles for a loss last year as well, with 4 sacks. He can line up as a pass rusher on the edge. He's actually dangerous when he lines up on the edge. And he was the 2020 AAC Defensive Player of the Year. He'd be a guy that would surely benefit Gus Bradley's defense, adding scheme versatility and almost a perfect fit for what this Raider defense has needed for what seems like an eternity. So my pick here at 17, Zaven Collins. My player comparison is Brian Urlacher. Once again, a lot of experts have compared him to Brian Urlacher. That tells me right there he may be that true middle linebacker the Raiders have needed for quite some time. All right, and so in round 2 here, we're just going to continue to build that front 7, build this defense, give Gus Bradley another bone, man, because he knows the AFC West. He knows the Buccaneers, man. They showed us this is a copycat league. You got to have a defense if you're going to stop Patrick Mahomes. The Bucs showed us what needs to happen. So Ronnie Perkins, you get drafted right here at pick number 48, right around his value. He could go a little bit before this. He could go a little bit after. But Ronnie Perkins, defensive end, will fit the 4-3 defense perfectly. Little undersized by some. Maybe some will say he's a little undersized, 6'2", 253 pounds. But the man got great strength off the edge. He demonstrates it. He wins his battles. He's got great strong handwork coming off the edge. He has explosive closing speed. He's the perfect prospect in this class to work with 𝐂𝐨𝐥𝐿, who the Raiders signed in free agency. Actually, that's my player comparison. They are very similar in size. So you see the fit with Ronnie Perkins here. Perfect guy to work with Yannick. Also, I'm going to read a quote. This is from a Draft Scout. This was in a Sports Illustrated article. Loved every bit of what I read here, and I'm sure a lot of us Raider fans can relate to this. This is a quote from Ronnie Perkins here. "With me, I play with an edge. I hate to lose," he said. "One thing I've been telling teams in my interviews is I love to win, but I hate to lose. That's the biggest thing with me. I hate losing. You'll be getting a competitive guy. I also tell them you'll be getting a guy who plays angry every snap." Ronnie Perkins. That's my guy right there. Defensive end, Oklahoma. Round 2, pick number 48. We're stacking that front 7. We're getting after the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, you are on notice. Justin Herbert, you are on notice. Let's move along here, round 3. Here we go. I got our tackle right here in round 3. A nice boring pick for us to talk about. I'm just joking. Offensive tackle is key. Stone Forsythe, man, this has been a player that really grabbed my attention the last couple months. The fact that he played left tackle at Florida. Protected Kyle Trask. I think he threw 48 touchdowns and like 6 interceptions. That speaks volumes when it comes to left tackle. But more than anything, what really caught my eye with Forsythe is his size. We're trying to replace Trent Brown on the right side, who was 6'8", like at times 380 pounds, I believe. Sometimes 350. I mean, Trent Brown was all over the place. Well, you're getting a guy that's a little bit more leaner, 315, 6'8". He's got the lean body style. Could be a great fit for Tom Cable's zone scheme. Of course, he's going to need to develop. The Raiders have a lot of makeshift situations on their offensive line the last couple of years. Hasn't been consistent. So once again, I think he'd be a good fit to develop as a rotational swing tackle, and a good value here in the 3rd round. He plays well in slide protection. The more NFL reps I think this guy gets, the more his ceiling goes up. And I'll just read a quote from 𝐙𝐚𝐯𝐬. This is a scout that I like. I like a few scouts when I do read reports. That's 𝐙𝐚𝐯𝐬. I've always valued his opinion. He wrote, "The name of the game is pass protection, and Forsythe's talent in that area should make him an NFL starter early on." So moving on here in the 3rd round, man, we're going to get another offensive lineman. And right here, we're getting Aaron Banks. Now, here's another player I've been pretty much watching the entire offseason. Couldn't take my eyes off this player here at this value at pick number 80 for Aaron Banks, guard out of Notre Dame, man. This guy's big. He's a massive, big-bodied blocker. He's tough to get around. He relies on his wide base. Now, once again, you just watch his film, man. This guy is an anchor in that interior line. I think he'd be a great guy to work with our current guards that we have in place right now, especially like a guy like 𝐏𝐥𝐻𝐼ncognito. He's a veteran, been around the league for a while. But I just like how he can absorb contact. He can slow down the momentum of rushers. Really good in pass protection and the running game. Uses his length and his feet to anchor and keep rushers in front of him, and he has an outstanding grip. And I'm reading this from what the scouts wrote. This is NFL.com, but this was actually really good assessment, and took a lot of, like I get The Athletic and PFF and all that, so I do have a bunch of notes in here, but he's great at executing combo blocks. He can barrel through defenders and wash down the line. And there was times when Liam Eichenberg, the tackle from Notre Dame, I love Notre Dame's entire offensive line. I couldn't doubt anybody on this offensive line, but Banks was very consistent, probably the most consistent of them all, aside from maybe Tommy Kramer, who might go undrafted. I mean, so Tommy Kramer, who filled in, who actually played with Quentin Nelson a few years back, who was a top draft pick as well. So, once again, with Banks, though, he's a durable 3-year starter at Notre Dame. His mainstay was at left guard, and he just fit the scheme very well. Either he fit the scheme very well, or he's going to translate very well in the NFL. No matter what, the talent is there. He has the experience to play left tackle, right guard, and he stepped up in big games and started 31 straight games. So, very impressive career at Notre Dame, and I'm taking him here, pick number 80 for the Las Vegas Raiders. They get a new guard in Aaron Banks. Moving on here, 4th round. We're getting real hopeful because our man, Ombre Thomas, the cornerback from Michigan Wolverines, who I don't have a player comparison. He is a press corner, man cover corner. But this guy is one that could go very well in the 3rd round. But I'm going to be hopeful here because there's a lot of cornerbacks in the draft, and it seems like he's getting looked past. But Ombre Thomas is your 4-star cornerback recruit out of high school. He ranked the number 12 cornerback in the class and number 2 player in the state behind Donovan Peoples-Jones. So he received almost 40 scholarships from around the country. This is before he went to Michigan and all that as a high school recruit. So I just want to clear up how much this guy has gone noticed as far as, from a high school perspective to a college. Now, sometimes these guys get looked past in college. He does play at a big school. He's a big Michigan fan. But I see a quality corner here. He elected to opt out of the 2020 college football season, so maybe that might drop his draft stock a little bit. He did take his invitation to the Senior Bowl, but once again, this is a player that relies on his physical nature, and that's what I like. I do like Ohio State cornerbacks because most of them are press corners. They can handle one-on-one coverage. I'm liking Thomas in a lot of that regard, man. He looks like one of those old-school style cornerbacks. He has the physical nature. His technique is somewhat seasoned, somewhat NFL ready, I should say. His athleticism and competitive mentality are strong selling points, and he is, like I said, he does project, and he is your typical bump and run NFL corner with starting upside. Another player here that I'm talking about that if he gets NFL reps on the field, he's that guy, like with rookies, I'm big on throwing rookies to the wolves in the NFL. Get them, the more NFL reps these guys get, the better they develop, in my opinion, and it raises their ceiling. So a player like Ombre Thomas, who ran a 4.4, some say he ran a 4.3 on his pro day. I didn't see anything clocked on a 4.3, but a lot of Michigan fans are saying that he ran a 4.3. Aside from the speed at the 40 time, you need 4.4 speed as a corner, and Ombre Thomas has that. And he does have that big conference play, and it should translate well in the NFL. This is a guy I see that could develop as a very solid cornerback in the NFL, and something the Raiders need. They need more competitive bodies in the defensive backfield because guys like Damon Arnett, it's time to step up in year 2. So round 5, let's get into round 5 here. We're getting another defensive back, and you guys already know I'm a big fan of the safety position. Took a while for Tyree Gillespie, man, the safety out of Missouri. Who I don't have a player comparison. I'm really big on player comparisons. It's fun to me, but I just did not have time to do a player comparison from round 5 and on. But, pick number 162 here in round 5. The Raiders, they get Tyree Gillespie, and this guy is another guy who runs a 4.440. What really caught my eye was the Kansas City Chiefs scouting. They're scouting this guy. They are watching him closely as a 4th, 5th round pick. So I might be hopeful here in round 5. Maybe he goes in the 4th round. He is catching some eyes. But one thing that really stood out to me was Kyle Pitts, man, in the game versus Florida. He covered Kyle Pitts. He was pretty solid in that matchup at times. He was, there was times it was in the zone. There was times where he was matched up on Kyle Pitts. But I'm not saying he played great. I'm just saying he did solid. That was a challenge. And Kyle Pitts, to my knowledge, will be a top 5 pick tonight in the NFL draft. So we're taking Tyree Gillespie, safety out of Missouri. Just adding another body there in the defensive backfield, adding more competitiveness, and see how this player could translate to the NFL, because he is being coveted by many NFL teams in these mid rounds. So let's see, he's got the range, he's got the physicality, he is a hitter, and he's got to improve his urgency and awareness in coverage to be anything more than a backup or special teamer. Another thing, he did play gunner, I believe, so he's got special teams experience, which adds value to this draft pick as well. All right, so let's get into our next pick here in round 5, pick number 167. I'm excited for this one. This is actually one of my favorite picks in the mock, getting one of these players down the board, because Tyler Shelvin, I don't know why he's not valued as a 3rd round pick. Maybe some are, but most have him going in the 5th, 6th round. A lot of it has to do with weight issues and whatnot, but I'm getting this guy. If this guy's sitting here around in round 5 and we can get him at pick number 167, I'm taking this humongous human being. He's got broad shoulders, wide hips, thick from head to toe. I mean, you just check out his profile, man, and just watch this guy on tape. I think he reached 390 pounds last year. I think he's down to like 350 right now, so he is taking his NFL career serious. But once again, this is that anchor you put in the middle, your Vita Vea type anchor in the middle, you know. And so once again, we got to stack this defense. It's a copycat league, man. We saw what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did, and I don't want to sound like a broken. We saw what they did, and Patrick Mahomes looked lost out there. Patrick Mahomes looked rattled. We need that on our defensive side of the football. Gus Bradley needs to get this thing going because it's only going to get worse. You know, the Denver Broncos, they're trying to find their quarterback, so let's get these anchors on the defensive line and let's see how they translate in the NFL. This guy can play low, balanced. He's got leverage, single, double blocks, swat or toss. And I'm reading you some stuff from, I won't name it where I'm reading. This is paid for content that I'm reading to you guys. So, but once again, he's quick with his discard to make stops in the hole, flashes lateral quickness to make plays down the line of scrimmage, carries his weight much better than expected. Man, I mean, once again, and I'll just finish off the quote with this: when he plays hard, he plays through the echo of a whistle. And he had a dominant sophomore season in 2019, helping LSU win the national title. And I remember that year. That was a big, he was a big force. And not only that, but just 2020, with a lot of players opting out, we didn't really get a full assessment. No NFL combines. Once again, this is a player that could be a second or third round value that just falls down the board due to what's happened in the last couple of years. And the Raiders could score big here, man, if he slips. And they can utilize one of these fifth-round picks and get a huge anchor on the defensive line. I see it happening. And that's my pick right here for the Raiders. Tyler Shelvin, defensive tackle from LSU. Give me your thoughts. We're going to jump into round 6. This is a toss-up pick for me, but I couldn't pass on this guy. I drafted him in my league as well. Man, the more I watch tape of Kenny Yeboah, the more I like this player. I know a lot of guys are going wide receiver in the draft this year for the Raiders because this is a very deep wide receiver class. There's some great, I mean, it looks deeper than last year. I mean, there's some good receivers coming out this year. And we thought last year's class was we thought highly of last year's class, I should say. But this year, man, I'm going tight end Kenny Yeboah, and I'm going to go for many different reasons. I'm looking for a fit for Jon Gruden's West Coast offense. Kenny Yeboah could be a fullback in this league. I mean, he's 6'4", 247, so maybe a little tall, but who knows? What if he loses weight and he's that big target, that big wide receiver target the Raiders have been looking for? You know, they did sign Tyrell Williams a couple years back. You know, I mean, he was another 6'4" wide receiver. You know, so when you get these big wide receivers, you know, they don't have them. You know, of course they cut him this year, but what I'm saying is that they go for these big-bodied wide receivers, and we're not looking for a replacement or anything for Darren Waller. We know the Raiders have tight ends. I'm only drafting Kenny Yeboah here because of his hands, because of he's an Ole Miss wide receiver. These guys have been exploding onto the scene in the NFL. I view him as a red zone target. He could help us out in the red zone when the Raiders at times, they have struggled in the red zone at times. And that could be maybe the misuse of personnel, which I think it is. You know, Gruden's got to call better plays. But at the same time, this could be an excellent find for your red zone target who could be used in situational sets. He could be used as a running back. He could be used as a tight end, maybe a fullback. But once again, I think this is an excellent find for specifically Jon Gruden's West Coast offense on passing downs. And because we already know Yeboah, if you know anything about him, he is limited as a blocker. And definitely it's going to be a question when it comes to NFL defenders, but he has the athleticism and the pass-catching traits, and he projects as a versatile move tight end who can line up as fullback and wingback. And once again, a great fit for Jon Gruden's West Coast offense, and I'm a huge fan of this kid. So that's going to wrap it up, man. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here, but one thing, Raider Nation, I wouldn't lie, it felt great to get a mock draft out today. This thing had been itching. I had been preparing for this for months, and here I get it out. Like, homework assignment is turned in like right at the deadline, man. So you guys have a great day, man. Enjoy the draft. Fire up the grill. I'm hitting up my cousin later. We're gonna go fire up some steaks, see what's going down in the first round, and I'm hoping we get a future great one today at pick number 17. You have a great day, Raider Nation. I'm Raider Dave. This is Grimecast Media. I'll see you on the next one. I'll be back actually on Sunday, so prepare for that show, and I'll see you guys coming up here in a few days, and we'll recap this draft. I'm out. Peace.